There we go. And thank you so much, Yael, for joining us today. It's such an honor to have you all the way from Israel. One of the beautiful things about being on a Zoom call. So I'd like you to introduce yourself to all of us. And this is being recorded so that I could send the recording to people who could not be with us today. So,
Um, so hi, I'm Yael. The dry information. I'm 41 years old.
Yep.
I enjoy living life now, which is something that I thought would not be possible via my circumstances and my upbringing and the way I kind of brought up myself in these situations. When I was 24, I was diagnosed with affective bipolar. I have gone through a very, very, very long episode that started in Israel through two hospitals. I ran away. I was starting to get medicated. In the middle of the psychotic break, I was walking around the streets of Jerusalem, and I'm not going to make it pretty because it wasn't. And while I was trying to take care of myself because I was so worn out and so tired from being so far away from myself and so far away in my head with imaginations and conspiracy and everything that I remembered and didn't remember about my childhood coming up. In this state, I walk in the streets of Jerusalem and I get raped. Just a place where 2 years before I was living with my friends in the street, and that's why I was going there to try to help myself. And now I have even more ideas to, more shame and more hurt to live with. And this episode finished while I flew to New York and was hospitalized there in a hospital. This episode was the longest one I ever had. Was the first one, so I did not know what was going on, and my mind being um, feeling elevated and very down and very up and very elevated, and being a messenger of the world and being a healer and being Messiah and then being Moses and then being all the people in the Bible and living in this world was very new to me because it never happened before. But after the third hospital, I realized that, okay, I'm going to take medication till I feel better. And the truth is that, with the bipolar, every 2 years I was hospitalized and I had 8 episodes for the next, 10 years. Wait, I'm mixing up that five episodes for 8 years in the next 8 years, which after every one of them, I had to live again, start again, new job. And I just realized that you asked me to introduce myself, but I started sharing my story. So this is me introducing my story, and I'm going to make it very short. Dealing with the bipolar was just something that was devastating for me because I learned that I would have to be on medication for the rest of my life, which that on its own was a shock because it means I'm not free. I have to be near a doctor and I have to be taken care of all the time. And I am, there's something that I need to take care of myself. And that was very hard. The second thing is that years later, I never realized that the trauma I had from that rape in that episode, no one ever asked me about. And I was living with that, what we call post trauma, because every day I continued to rape myself in my head, innocently, not knowingly. But that was harder for me because I thought of myself as a strong person, as a person with character, that no one can do that to me, that I would be able to fight. But I was physically so weak that even when I knew what was going on, I couldn't take care of myself and protect myself. And just when I started writing my story, that's hopefully going to become a book one day, I realized that the reason I was there at that time is because I was trying to take care of myself, because I felt that something was wrong with me. I felt that I was weak. I felt that I needed to put my head down and lay down on some friend's couch. And, when we're in a state like that, there's just so much we can do. And then, I came across the principles. I had a few angels on the way that gave me some pointers. And I started getting out of the situation, not out of the bipolar, but out of insecurity, being mad and upset constantly. And it took me a few years to understand that I was part of being health. And I've been on a long journey, learned from many teachers, left many teachers, and the one thing that I love a lot of things about what Sydney Banks teaches, but the thing that I take with me in the last last few years is that Sid said that we should be able to learn from everyone. And the one thing that I heard his, students say is that when we came to visit him again and again, he asked us, why are we here? And he sent us home. And I think it took me about 10 years since I came across the principles to understand what he was trying to say. So that's what I've been doing in the last 2 years, is really going in, stopping to be part of all kind of groups, because being part of a group was good, but in a certain point it was stopping me from going within, because I had the time of the group and I had the sharing, and said, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I am curious to see what's going to happen. And I left the scene to take care of my body. And yeah, and today I live a beautiful life. I help some people to see their own light. I give cooking classes because I'm a chef as well, and I love woodworking. I have a lathe at home and I have a small studio, so I create some art, and I do that, and I live near the beach, so I love walking around and looking at trees and wondering why they cut off, but then when they do, using it for, so it's this whole beautiful beautiful life that I'm living now. And I'm happy to be here today and to listen to you and see what's up with all the Connecticut people. My mother's from Connecticut, Waterbury, Connecticut. I've been there a few times, and all the rest,
Oh,
and UK. And I'm here to be here for you. So whatever you want to ask, whatever you want to share, I'm here to be with
that's
you.
so beautiful. Yeah. Al. And Wendy is able to see everybody on the screen. I can't on my screen. And so Wendy said that she would be great with, unmuting you when
Yeah,
you want to, or you could just unmute yourself
yeah,
with any
yeah,
question.
yeah. Well, I have one. Yeah, Elle, in your time since coming across this understanding, and it, how many years has it been? Over 10? Because you were
Yes,
23, 24 when you were quite ill. And now you're how old? 41, you said?
yes.
Yeah, so in your
In
third,
30, I was 29 when I
okay.
first came across the principles.
I'd be curious if you had one really impactful story of somebody that as the smoke cleared and your mind cleared and you started to feel better in your own skin, when you were sharing, do you have any stories of other people that were also quite compromised, and as a result of talking with you, being coached by you, listening to you, that you said, I had a front row seat to a couple of interesting people, interesting stories where people recovered. Yeah.
Recovery.
If that's a good word, I don't know.
I mean, I healing. I mean, to me, the healing journey, I hope one day it will end, you know, but we can do it in a very joyful way. There are people that, let's say I can think of one person that called me, was recommended by a friend, and said, I am either killing myself or I'm going to the hospital, you know, to be hospitalized. And I said, you know, if that's what you have to do, you can do that. But if you can wait till tomorrow, I can see you. And this was in a time where I was very new working with people, very new, you know, very new. I was charging like a few bucks just to tell people that I charged something for them to be comfortable as well. And we just had a conversation, and that conversation, that first, you know, they don't have to believe everything that's going on in their mind. You don't have to. You could, but you don't have to. And just, I mean, the truth is that what helps people is to see that someone came out the other side. There are not a lot of people that I know that are also living healthy, but also thriving and also off medication, which being off medication is not a, I won't call it you healed, because to me, there's many components of being off medication. But to me, medication in a way is still, it's helping us, but it's also in a way poison. So I think that story that, you know, years later, I'm still in contact with this person and her friend that worked with me as well. And she is thriving today. She has her own business. She's working. Not everyone is that curious like me to continue to work in the same direction. Because a lot of people, what happens, what I see happening, people learn how to feel good and then they leave. Because they say, I learned how to feel good, even if I can manipulate myself that I'm feeling good, because I can do that. We know how, I mean, I know how to do that. Like, yeah, of course I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm not feeling any, I'm not anxious. No, I'm not. It's just my thinking, but I am anxious. So even by fooling myself, we can tell ourselves that we're good. And just knowing that we can be okay sometimes is enough for people, and they don't want more. And then there are people that come back again and again because they want to, you know, they want more freedom. So there's different places where I meet people in different journeys, and then there are people that come back a year later and they're like, I want to hear more, or I want to know if there's anything I'm missing, or but I think that's that story that someone decided to change their way. That is, and I hear it all the time, because people see that you can change the way. That healing does not necessarily have to be through figuring out all our story. That can come later, but learning how to be free right now. And that's where it starts.
Yeah, that's lovely. Just that window where somebody said, today I'm either going to kill myself or go to the hospital. And you said, could you wait till tomorrow? You couldn't hear me, but I giggled a little bit. That's, it shows how much, to me, it shows how much agency we can have over our decisions. So I just really love the fact that at that young age in the principles, you said, could you wait till tomorrow? I have time at 2. I mean, I think that's really cool. And sometimes just that pattern interrupt for another human being is really powerful.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I see
Yeah.
Katrina has her hand up.
Yeah.
I
And you
think
know,
that
Wendy,
first
I didn't
Yael
think
wanted to
about it.
answer.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like this, but to me, it made sense not to ask someone to come to my house at 10 o'clock and 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Because I was, I was living, I had a partner, and I wouldn't do that. And it made sense for me um to say like that's an option. And I think that the way most people deal with suicide and suicidal ideation, they take it so seriously. They jump into the situation with the person, and they're like, and if like, because I deal with a lot of people that have suicidal thoughts. I did for 15 years. I tried to kill myself when I was 26 years old. I couldn't. It didn't work. Okay. So when I talk to people, I talk to them like it's a regular conversation. They said, I'm into suicidal thoughts again. I'm like, okay, how is it? Like, is it fun for you that you're going there all the time? Is it okay? Like, I learned not to take it on me, because it could be that one day someone will have that situation and the next day they won't be in this world. And it's not, that's why I say I'm not a psychologist. I didn't learn psychology. I went through something, and I share how I see it. And if you like it, you can be here. And if not, not. That's it. Where did you learn? I didn't learn anything, even though I learned in places. So I learned not to take that on myself. And then it gives me freedom to be truthful. Can you wait till tomorrow? And I don't think she ever heard that before. When she said, I'm going to kill myself, everyone jumped and I'll come to me. I'll take care of you. I'll give you, I don't know, the drugs that calm you down. I'm like, can you wait till tomorrow? She's like, okay.
I love that reply, Yael. It also reminded me what you said about people hear what they hear. They're not hearing necessarily what the person is saying or meaning. So to me, you trust in the wisdom in each person.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Katrina had a question too.
Yeah. Hi, Yael.
Hi.
We met in Omar and Harry's group a few years back.
It's nice to meet you again.
And you. I have my closest friend's eldest son has a diagnosis of schizophrenia and bipolar. And we don't get to talk in a close way very often, but we do occasionally. So mostly I've been listening. And one of the things that I'm not sure how to approach it's I sort of started pointing him in the direction of the feeling. But of course, when he's manic, for him, it feels, and I can relate to it because I get what I call hyper moods. And it feels like you're all powerful. But for him, it's upper level. And it feels great. And he thinks he's running some sort of NGO and saving the world when he's in his manic, but he will do things that are not good to do. So it's really difficult to point him how that feels. I've sort of said, it sort of feels, does it feel sort of urgent? Because that's an indicator that you're not, you're in your thinking not in a good place. But have you got any?
What's the word that you used? You used, it feels like what?
If it felt urgent.
Urgent.
Urgent, because that's one, but I didn't know if you've got any sort of pointers. Because trying to explain it in terms of the feeling when obviously it feels amazing because the comparison with the low
Yeah.
but it's
So a few
not.
things come up. First of all, I don't think that being calm and joyful and content is amazing. It's a very different feeling. I don't feel amazing. I feel alive. And being alive is simple. It's not a saying. It's not, a guru. It's like a tree growing. It's natural. When you said hyper and you talked about, you being a little hyper and he's higher, the image that came to my mind is a wave. Now, we can have a debate about what the sea, if the nature is movement or the nature is, flat, because when I go out to the sea, it's different in different hours of the day, different seasons. But let's say that every thing that comes up must come down. So in order to get to a neutral place, if this is neutral, when we go up, in order to get back to neutral, we don't come back to here. We go down, we do that. So to me, being happy doesn't mean that I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? My life is amazing. I'm going to save the world. Because every person that I met, even people that don't even have manic, they're just very, very, very hyper. We're out to save the world. I'm sure there's a recording out there of my first episode. I was going to save the world. I thought my parents are taking me to the hospital because they're flowing with my conspiracy that I'm a doctor, and they took me to the hospital to heal everyone. But the moment we went inside, I was like, oh my God, we're here for me. I'm such a fool. They fooled me and they brought me here. So if we are there to save the world, to me, it's a cry for help. Because no matter what I do and how many people I work with and how many people are touched by someone's story, I will not save anyone but myself. Anyone. I cannot help. I can point, I can tell them, look, sit for 5 minutes, let the feeling be. I can point you to many people that can help, you can do any kind of, it doesn't work for you, do it through the mind, do it through the body. It doesn't work through here. There are many ways. All roads lead to home. But when someone says, I'm going to save the world, maybe that's where, and it happened to someone very, very close in my family in the last few months. So I so feel you, and it's a friend's son, because I had to strap on my listening gear because it was a family member. So I had to be such a listener that when I wasn't listening, I got into the story and I started giving advice because it was family, it was things that are happening in family. But then I was like, okay, I'm going to give it another chance. Come over again. Let's just have tea. And then I realized I just have to listen. I have to because this person needed help. It sounded exactly like your friend's son. Like, I'm going to save the world and we have a war now. And now I know how to help everyone with the post-trauma. But here across me is sitting a person that is suffering and can't sit in a chair for more than 30 seconds. So for me, my later on journey had a lot of humility being part of it. I had to let go. I didn't have some people say, I want 1,000 people to hear my story. If I touch, if 2,000 people know, or I have to reach 100,000, I had to let that go. It was taking me away from presence, from life. who am I to think that 1,000 people need to hear my story? Why 1,000? Why not 10? Why not 1,000,000? I think if 1,000,000 people heard my story, it will really help. But who am I to think that? Why do I need that in my head? So, does it make sense what I'm saying?
It does. It does. And I feel you're pointing me to the listening again and to the, if I need to point to the feeling of calm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did hear something. Thank you.
You know,
Thank you.
when
That was helpful.
it's my pleasure. You know, Dr. Pettit at the Prague Listening Summit last year, I think it was last year, he said something to me. It just landed in my heart. Listening is like being a rock with ears. And I was like, right. A rock
I
with
rock.
ears. That's it. And I mean, there's something that I tried lately with, because for some reason, people that have very big stories come to me. So there's a lot of pain in the body all over. So I ask them just to be able to have a conversation. We can't have a conversation with someone when they're having pain. It's impossible. The focus is there. So I ask them to find one place in their body where they don't have pain. So today someone said, my right leg is okay. So I said, okay, your right leg is okay. Good. Spread that feeling all over your body. It was profound what happened to them. So then I can have a conversation with them. Now I was like, okay, now I can talk to you. Before it was like the story never ended, and and it's okay. We can figure out the story later. But in order to talk, to have a conversation, so sometimes we don't even know what kind of feeling we're asking someone to feel because they never experienced it. But if they have a toe, that feels good, a nail, a hair, they can spread it around. But it sounds like you have a good connection with them, or even you care for them, even if you say you're not that close, but you care for them, and I'm sure that this will come through.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you.
Is anybody else? I don't see any hands raised. Go for it, Richard. Hi.
Hi, Richard.
Unmute yourself.
You're muted.
I forgot how to raise my hand digitally, so I'll do it visually. Hi, Yael.
Hi, Richard. I
Life
like your background.
yeah, actually, you know what it is?
Oh, it's your virtual. I thought you're this artist that just.
Well, actually, it is part of my art, and my art is photography.
Oh, that's amazing. It's so beautiful.
And it's really simple. It's ice on a mud puddle at the entrance to my driveway.
Ice on mud.
I have about
Wow.
4 or 5, and you know what it is, and sort of this is a good segue into we are what we see. And when I talk about seeing, we're talking about seeing at the universal sense. Not everybody sees the same thing in the physical form. And we all come on into the physical form with gifts that we have that are innate. They're there. They exist. They pre-exist actually the physical form. They're already there. Sid used the metaphors. I'll use that word because he would say, don't listen to my words. They're trying to describe the indescribable. So he said, they're just metaphors trying to explain the indescribable. And if you look up the definition for metaphor, I mean, like, I'm a bit of a wordy guy. So when I'm understanding what the word means, so if you don't know what it is, look it up. and insight. You can use the sight from within definition. So where is within? So that immediately will shift the focus from whatever sort of outer world or physical world understanding of what within means back to the spiritual realm. And I like the word realm because it's a all-encompassing, overarching system, if you want to call it. Again, it's just a metaphor. So I was wanting to basically talk about a couple of things, and like the first spontaneous, well, not the first, the spontaneous thought that came to me that made a significant difference was just the realization that I'm okay. I'm okay exactly the way I am. In fact, this happened in the fall of 1975 when Marika and I were heading home to our country cottage. It was 565 square feet, absolutely coolest place on earth for us at the time. Didn't have any premeditated thought. It just two words, I'm okay, popped into my mind. I didn't give it a second thought. I turned to Marika and I said, I'm okay. And she looks at me with this sort of peculiar look on her face, like, what do you mean? So I wasn't able in that immediate sense to pass on the feeling that was associated with it. I had to explain it to her. So my explanation was, I realized I'm perfectly fine the way I am, who I am, where I am, what I do, et cetera, et cetera. And this was despite being somewhat shy or insecure, whatever word, whatever metaphor you want to use to describe that feeling, because I would hold back and observe. So another example of that, there was one early meeting in Cedar Beach Resort in the beach house where we used to gather every Friday evening with Sid was the guest featured speaker for about 20 minutes. There was one of those Fridays early on in those gatherings that he observed me being the observer. You know what he did? Came up to me and gave me sort of a tap on the shoulder and then goes, you see that person over there? Why don't you go talk to them? He had a gentle way of nudging people that was to some degree more like a sledgehammer, depending on what your what your level of consciousness was and how not defensive, but how you interpreted his advice, and it was sage advice. So that was one of those sledgehammer type blows that Sid was very capable of delivering in the most gentle way that he knew it was good for you. So
That is so cool that you were front and center with Sid. I'm glad. Richard, I'm really conscious of the fact that we have 20 more minutes with Yael,
okay,
and maybe I just want to make sure that people who are interested in her story get a chance
okay.
to ask a question. But maybe you could come on and speak with us sometime about your front row seat with Sid. That might be a really
Well, yeah,
interesting.
that was 1980 to 2009. The front row
Wow,
seat was graphic design and friendship.
that's great. Oh, that's a cool thing.
Two
Was
words
this
on the second one, just if I can leave it, is titled The Spec. That one I was an insight I had when I was 17, 6 years prior to meeting Sid. I'd love to talk about that because it's about my relationship to the universe.
very interesting? Cool. So, Emma, go for it.
Hi, Emma.
Hi, hi. How do you pronounce your name, please?
Yael.
Yael. Right. Hi, Yael. You mentioned that, something horrific happened to you. Um, and I'm just wondering how you got through that. you know, my sister's just committed suicide, and I'm really struggling to get my head round why people didn't listen to me. You know, the nurses in the hospital didn't listen to me, the doctors in the hospital didn't listen to me. Nobody listened to me when I told them my sister wasn't safe, and they still discharged her. And my family just think I've lost the plot, but I haven't lost the plot. What I can't seem to process is, how do you come through something like that? How do you accept it? How do you grow from it?
First, I'm sorry. I don't know how it
Thank
feels
you.
to lose a sister.
It's the worst feeling it's the worst thing. And like you, I've been in the mental health system 40 plus years, been drugged up to the hilt, but nothing has prepared me for this. It's just the unimaginable has happened, and I can't process it because I did everything I could, as much as I was able to do, given my health problems, to get the right support and care for my sister. And nobody, they promised all sorts and did nothing for her. And she's gone now. And yeah, sorry for interrupting, but it's just the hardest thing ever. I'm wearing all her clothes, her shoes, her ring, her bracelet. I've got a bag full of notebooks and things. I'm surrounded by her. She's more in my life now than she's ever been. But she's gone. I just don't know how to work it through.
So I'm going to imagine for a moment that I'm not myself, that I'm someone else. You know, maybe I don't even have to do that. But you said a couple of times, I don't know how to process it. So what if this is not the time? It's not the time to process it. It's not. Maybe it's a time to grieve.
But I'm
No,
just devastated, yeah.
and I probably would be as well.
I'm too busy trying to fight for justice for her, and I'm forgetting that I'm hurting really more than I've ever hurt in my life. I thought I'd been through the worst of things.
Oh, I think that you have the answer, because I have tried to fight for justice for so long that I fell more and more apart from myself, from my family, from everyone around me. You know, there's someone, I heard someone say once, I don't even know who, I don't remember who it is, but someone was on this call, and they asked the main person, why, you know, our TV, our content is so bad. We should have, my mission in life is to create a new TV and to have, you know, a channel where there are nice shows and positive content. And, you know, she had a whole idea, like she was going to create this you know, new channel on TV. And the person there listened to her and said, you don't have to. You're not going to change them. You just create a different channel. And I feel that that's the only thing that helped me. That's the only thing that helped me. Because, you know, Richard was talking about looking within. My looking within was looking through an idea that I am insecure, I'm mad, upset, and that is my personality. So for 3-4 years into sitting in this conversation, I didn't see through the bipolar, because that was when I looked within, that's what I saw. I was looking out into the world through that prisma. And it's only later on till I heard Dr. Pettis say something, and then I saw that I was creating that as well. And I knew that I can stop. I saw how I was creating my psychosis, how it incrementally grown. So I knew I can stop that. But, you know, I know that right now in the world, I mean, I live in Israel, there's a war on right now. I have to tell the truth. I live in Israel, but I have not taken a side, and I will not, because that's not my job. To me, there's no one out there to kill me. Because if I think that there's someone out there to kill me, they live in a room in my head. And that is not looking from the greater good, from neutrality. And I know that no one that lives a nice life is going to want to hurt someone else. So the reason I'm saying it, because a lot of people are fighting for justice. And when I fought for justice, I suffered. I did. And I don't know, but I'm almost sure that if you allow yourself to fully be with your sister right now, not just externally, internally, to be with her, not to be afraid to be with her, and to be with the experience that you are having right now, that will take you in a different direction. It will get you close to her instead of far away from her.
Are you saying not to fight for? It's not. I don't need to fight for justice because they all know that they've failed her. I mean, the police are involved, and there's a huge inquest, and so I don't need to prove anything because, I've got the letters and the recordings to prove, what they promised and didn't deliver, and now she's gone. What I want to do is highlight that too many people, lose their lives because they're not listened to. It's all people want. It's all a lot of people want is to be listened to. All my sister wanted was to be listened to and heard. And she wasn't right up until, and that's what needs to change. I'm yes, you're right. Fight isn't in my nature, but I do need to represent the people who won't listen to.
Yeah. And you know
in
what?
this world and lose their lives.
When you're ready to do that, I'm going to be right by your side.
Thank you. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Not fight. It's not a fight. I don't need to fight anyone. They all know. No, I don't need to tell them.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I thought it was for a client, but I wrote something today. But maybe in another time, you can connect with me, and I would love to share more about this. But that's something that I would like to do as well. But the first thing is to take care of yourself, to be able to be with yourself, because it sounds to me like something inside is trying to get your attention to come back. Your sister not being here, I'm sure she wouldn't want you to suffer.
No, I know.
No.
Yeah, it's just sad. I'm very sad because it didn't need to happen. So I'm devastated because she was only 57 and very very good for this world in a lot of ways. But anyway, I'm not going to take up any more time, but thank you.
No, I appreciate so much that you were vulnerable enough to open up and share with us your story.
That was beautiful. Really a beautiful conversation.
Emma, I think that
Gosh.
if you were to reach out to Hannah Studley, I'm sure Hannah could get you in touch with Yael. Am I right, Yael?
Yeah, or with Lori as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
Emma knows Lori very well, but anyway, good.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
you'll figure it out.
Easy.
Good.
Yeah.
Anybody
just
else
had-
have?
Oh,
I was just going to
one
say I
quick-
did message Laurie earlier, so
Yes.
I've got Laurie's.
We're in touch.
you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful story.
Does anybody else
Um,
have anything in these last few minutes? Anybody else have a question?
Anybody who wants to run over a little bit, I am not time, I have some time on the other end.
And I do as well, because I thought we were going to start in an hour.
Yeah, that's
But I
right.
could go to sleep early. Always an option.
That's right.
It's so wonderful having you with us, Yael. So, who's got a
Maybe-
real juicy question? Because I'll have one if nobody else does.
Go for it, Lori.
Let's see. So many questions came to my mind. They came in one ear and out the other because I didn't want to miss a word. But I know there was something early on that was said about, I know what it is. And it's a quote of Sid's as well that I never get the words exact, but being okay with our experience, wherever we are, even in the midst of the pain, being okay with that, knowing that we're not there forever. And it's quite amazing how Yael's a perfect example, how we grow from the difficulty. Someone in the UK pointed out to me that there's a book by Thich Nhat Hanh with the title, No Mud, No Lotus. I just come to see that for me, and, I don't say this as a teaching or for anybody to take on, but in all my years, I've just keep seeing in my own life and others' lives that amazing things occur for them out of the difficulty, out of the mud, out of the hardship. It's a contact sport here, right? Nobody gets out of it without their difficulties, bumps and bruises. But when we're in the middle of a difficult time, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. So it's also a life of forgetting and remembering, back and forth.
Yeah.
And, this is such a beautiful group that there's so much support here. Not just today, but, like Wendy and Elaine and Mary and I get together every Tuesday and almost every Tuesday and almost every Wednesday. So there's places for you. And Yael, it's wonderful that you make yourself so available. I've referred some of my clients to Yael. Yeah.
It's my
Because she's
pleasure.
been through what I've not been through what they've been through. So she can speak from her experience.
Yeah.
Can I just interrupt? I'm going to have to go because I'm in another group now. But thank you very much. It's been lovely to see you both and see everybody. Thank you very much. I'll be in touch. I'll be in touch. Yes. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. The iPod Pro, did you want to ask something, or are you just coming in and out?
I'm just coming in and out, but maybe you sort of picked something out of my brain, because I don't really have a question. It's more of like a comment on like, or maybe it's like an unformed question on like the dissolving of the ego through the healing process, where at first you begin as like the Messiah complex, where you're like, I want to save the world, and then towards the end it's like I am the world and I can only save myself. And I just wonder, for somebody, like the way I relate to that is in the need to help others. And the way where I struggle is like, how much can others be saved? How much you can influence others on their path, or whether it's their path is predestined. And I guess like, if there was a question formed, it would be like, where do you settle between selflessness and selfishness or something?
That's a beautiful I think it's a beautiful conversation. I mean, there's a few conversations in here, and something that maybe Emma can listen to later. I think that the dissolving of the ego. I just want to say something about that, and then I would say something about the need to help others. Because for years I thought that I committed suicide because of pain, that I thought that I would live if I'm going to have this pain forever, so I have to stop it now. That's what I thought for years. And I thought that was the truth. But I started reading different books in the last year and a half that are not that are books that point to truth, but they're not necessarily, Sid Banks books. And I can see that he read these books too. And I realized that it wasn't the reason. The reason is that I was so in my ego, or what we call in my mind, or anything that's not pure love. I did not have a single grain of love left for myself. And so I was all ego. And slowly, 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 that started to dissipate. So I didn't feel like I have to disappear. So and then I went into this place, right? I started healing. So now everyone has to hear about my healing story, right? And for years I struggled with it, because where did I hear about someone that suffered and had 5 psychotic episodes and all this stuff and on medication for 12 years, and now it's gone? So I said, I have to do something about it. I have to. And once I cried to Mavis. I cried to Mavis Karn, and I said, how should I help people? And she said something so simple. She said, isn't your story enough? Like, to me, I heard like, what the hell more do you need? Like, shut up. What else do you need? Because I was so afraid. I still had fear of what people will think about my story, and if it's good and if it's not good. The story is there. It's truth. This is what happened. I was here. Some people said, maybe you were misdiagnosed. I said, okay, they're not ready to hear the story. But what I did in the last couple of years is I wrote down, why do I need to help people? And I found very funny ideas in my mind, because from that place, it didn't really work. I wasn't so effective. I wasn't so effective as being a listener and a guiding point for other people, because I was thinking about, what I need, right? Where are my needs met? And after I wrote every day. I just wrote down. I'm not a journalist. I don't do journaling. I don't know that thing. I don't know even the term. I just hear that some people say, do it, don't do it. I don't know what it means. But if I have a thought in my mind that I don't like, or the word need. The word need is something I know I suffered from for many years. I was very needy. I was needy. I harmed myself. I harmed relationships. I harmed my relationships with a boss because nothing was enough. I always needed more. Prove to me. I need. So when it came up with my work with people, I was like, okay, this got to stop. I can't work with people. I said, I'm not doing it. But instead of doing that, instead of quitting and saying, I'm not going to do it, I wrote down what the need was. And in the end, I came down to a point, like, I need them to heal. I can't do anything about it. I need them to know that I'm a good, I'm a good coach, or I'm a good guider, or whatever I want to call it. I don't need that. Like, I want people, I want that from people? No. And then I realized that all my ideas about needing something were also wrong. And in the end, I came to a very simple point. The reason I work with people is because I can. That's it. And I have many conversations, non-paid, nothing have to do with money. I share my story all around the world, organizations, places. It's not the thing. Because I can. And if one person hears something for themselves, great. If not, I shared my story. I blabbered, whatever. But people want a different solution or a different answer for them, for their life, mostly, even if they're fighting it. They want you. How I see it is someone out there wants you, your story. I don't know your name, so I'm going to call you iPad Pro. Is waiting to meet the exact energy at the exact time and space that you are. It's like they need that energy to meet. I won't use need. That's what will help them. And when we are in doubt, it's our job to stop doing whatever we're doing. Because when we doubt ourselves, we are stopping something. We're not in flow anymore. So the word need is something so simple that we use so, I used to use it like, oh, well, I need something. There's a secret in that word. And we can go inside with it. And I'm sure that when we understand what our needs are from that word, we will become free of whatever's blocking us. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Stuart, you are here. We started about an hour ago, but you're here now. Do you have any question for me or for Lori or for? You're muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry for being late.
That's
I
okay.
was involved with something, trying to deal with something, and time just disappeared. Um, I did see you speak on a video that Lori had sent me, and so I'm trying to get over my upset now that I'm late. But I heard what you were saying just before, and yeah, I think we all kind of go back and forth with what we need and then realizing we already have what we need.
Yeah.
And that's a really good reminder. And we're constantly going back and forth, but we misunderstand and then we understand. We misunderstand and then we understand. And I guess the difference is the time that it takes to get to that understanding. And hopefully it gets less and less as time goes by. And we realize the power of Sid's what Sid was pointing to.
Yeah. You know, if I can say something very small about that, a short, what I see is that everything we need to grow, everything we need in order to grow, and everything that would be advised to heal is inside of us. And if we understand that every thought, okay, imagine for a moment we're sitting here, right? It's, what day is it? Wednesday. For me, it's 8:08 p.m. I'm sitting here. We're relaxed, we're breathing, nothing's going on. So everything that is not that peace is from the past. Every feeling and every thought, even if it comes up tomorrow, it's not created now. Everything is from the past. Because if someone tells me now there's a war outside and I know how to act at war, how do I know how to act at war? That memory is inside me, whether if it's physical or emotional or in my head. And if someone tells me someone passed away and I know, oh, it's time to grieve, how do I know that? And if someone does something that I don't like and I know that I'm supposed to get upset, how do I know that? And to me, those memories are waiting to be let go of like helium balloons. They're just waiting for us for them to wake up and go down the stream or up the stream like a marble through a tube. And if we don't involve our mind, they'll just go.
That's interesting that you say that, because I was dealing with that in a group that I do. And the people that I work with have also gone through traumas and experiences that have had severe consequences for them. And when I talk to them about the three principles, and I try to explain to them that it's a matter of not holding on to the thoughts, but letting them flow. And some of them will come back at me and say, no, but I need to hold on to that. I need to remember. I need to remember so I don't go back there. I'm trying to explain to them, and it didn't hit me in the moment because I was trying to explain to it. I don't know if I explained it to them, but I don't know if I got through or not. But I thought about it later and I realized that whatever we need in the moment, if it is from a past experience and we need to see that in the moment of what not to do or what to do, it's there for us. We don't have to hold on to that thought. It's automatically there for us. So, you know, as I talk with people and try to guide people, I learn more myself. Sometimes I think I learn more than they do, unfortunately, but it's not up to me. All I can do is point in a certain direction and hopefully they'll see it at some point for themselves. But as I go along, I find better ways to kind of transmit what I'm trying to say. So that, I don't know if that makes sense, if you can relate to
Oh,
that.
of course, it makes a lot of sense. It makes, I mean, I was a person who was very interested in the principles, not because they were called the principles. I didn't even know they were called the principles when I was there. My friend just, you know, I'm sure if you heard my story, my friend just invited me to her house and I went to this workshop with her. I didn't even know she works. But something helped me become a little less upset, a little less jumpy, like getting mad very quick, like, and that interests me. And I wanted to learn more about it. So I became curious. Some people, they just want to feel good. They're not interested in whatever modality, like they're not interested in truth. They just want to feel good. And if I mean, I'm in Israel, so I hear that, you know, let's never forget all the time. I see it in stickers. I see little kids saying it, and I think it's harmful. You know, my great grandmother was in the Holocaust. Do I think it's helpful to remember every day? No. Can I say something about it? No. Do I need to learn how to shut up? Yes. I am a person. I'm born to Jewish parents. Do I consider myself Jewish? No. I don't even think about it. I'm a human being in the world. I'm part of billions of people. And I'm proud to say that I'm a human being and I'm a part of this world. But not many people will understand it. I can't even say it in some places because people will think I'm crazy. No one will think I'm just, this is who I am. And I had to come to terms with myself. But to never forget would be like telling me, don't ever forget that you walked in this and this street and that day in the dark because you might get raped again. That is not a nice life to live. No, but this is a whole nation. This is a whole people in the world. So how many people in the world hating me are there in the world in my head right now? That is suffering. And there's so much wisdom in what you say because we call this thing post-trauma. We don't call it trauma. In the moment, it wasn't a trauma. It was something that happened. After the fact, my survival mechanism went into full mode and stayed there. That's what's really happening. And that's my brain's job, to keep me from dying. So maybe we can change the name. But only to people who are curious. You know how many people I know in my personal community of growing up that went through bipolar? They don't even know my story. They don't even know I was sick. They didn't even know anything about me. They're like, what do you do? I heard you talk about something in this podcast. I'm like, I don't know. I do nothing. If you want, listen. But I hear from mothers and people, oh, this is happening to my son. I'm here. I'm suffering tremendously. Okay, if you want, we can have a talk. When people are ready. And sometimes people have to go through so much suffering till they're ready to hear. And sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll have to go just through a little to be open. And sometimes they'll have to be, you know, in a bad situation, again, to think that, okay, there must be something out there. And it seems like you're doing an amazing job.
Oh.
Yes.
I have my doubts sometimes. But
Listen back to this conversation about the doubt. Listen back to the recording.
I will. I
Yes.
will definitely. But and that's just my own thinking and my own, you know, things that hold me back, and I have to see that for what it is. And yes, not everybody is going to understand what we're talking about, or they're not ready. And that's something that I've been learning since really delving into this understanding that, you know, just be me. That's all I can do. Be there in support, be there with love. And I think that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Can I nudge you, Stuart?
Can you what?
Can I nudge you? Okay. How do you know how to act when you have doubt?
I don't.
Someone said, when in doubt, don't. Because we remember, oh, I think I'm the master of doubt. We can, do the, but my heart palpitates when I doubt. That's how I know that I'm in doubt, because I got so quiet. I laid down in my bed on a Tuesday afternoon, and my body knows that it's not Saturday. So why would you rest in the middle of the day? So you should be doing something. You should be doing something. I had to learn how to relax my mind and my body to tell my heart, it's okay. You're allowed to rest on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on every day. It's okay. So we have to forget that way, because if we know how to act, that's where our mind will take us, because that's safety. And the unknown is not safe. It's unknown. It's not being safe. It's being in an unknown, trusting from moment to moment. It's not safe, but it's trust. And that's the difference. And I'm there. Oh, I'm not the master of this. This is something that I'm learning now. People say, oh, because if you will just know, you'll be safe. Why are we looking to be safe? If we're looking to be safe, we're in a problem in our mind. Doesn't make sense. Why do I have to think about safety? A tree doesn't think, is it safe to grow a little leaves? It just does it. Oh, wait, I don't have to be safe. Interesting. One more thing to let go of. But trusting moment to moment, that is a life. That was my nudge.
That was a good nudge.
What a beautiful conversation. I mean, it's all been beautiful. To me, this last piece was really what Yael started out with about ego versus a deeper intelligence, a deeper knowing. And so it sounds to me like through all you've been through, Yael, you've really seeing that more and more. I mean, we're never going to see the end of, we're never going to be able to see that to the max. We're all in this. Everyone who's on this call is interested in seeing, or the way it seems to me, we're all interested in seeing more how to trust in that deeper wisdom. That's not the brain work. That's not the ego. That's not the intellect trying to figure things out. And boy, when we rest in the unknown, because we don't know the next second, we don't know what's going to come around the bend.
Yeah. That is the biggest, I mean, to me, that's the truth, because the brain only knows the past. The feelings only know the past. And I mean, now it will know what happened in the last hour because it's recorded. But that's it. That's it. And that's why it's so afraid of dying. Because if it doesn't tell me what's going to be in a little while, it's afraid that we won't need it anymore. But there are other uses, to push us forward, to learn something new, to take on singing, like, anything. But it's afraid of dying itself. But we can be okay with that having its own issues without involving us. I know you're afraid of dying. It's okay. It's okay. I'll be here for you. I'll witness it. I've been having death parties in my house for the last year and a half. Something comes up, I'm like, I don't need you anymore. I just put on music and I started dancing and I had a death party. That's what I did. Like, I don't need this part anymore. And I've been changing. I've been finding someone else in myself. Sometimes I feel that a person really needs to physically die in order to live the way I'm living today, but I see that it's not true. That I had different times in my life, and now there's another one emerging. And I'm very curious to see who am I going to be. So I'm willing to let go of everything I think I am in order to become who I'm supposed to be. And it's fun. And sometimes it's, sometimes I have doubt, but at least I learn to stop. Like doubt, stop. I already know that feeling. I'm like, but okay, heart palpitating, that's my sign. Stop. Nothing from the present is showing up right now. It's only doubt from the past. Stop. Stop again. Stop again. Just need some more stop signs. And also, I want to say thank you to Lori for saying yes, because you just shared with me something that you did, and I said, okay, there's a little more to my story than in the book. Okay, let's have a conversation, and then we had many emails about it. You said you were going to share about it if you could, and now we're here. And in the past, I used to be so afraid, and I would think I have to prepare something, and sometimes I do in different calls or different conversations. Someone wants a story about this or this point of view. But I was like, I'm just having a conversation with Lori, and maybe there'll be more people there. And I had
I
so much
love
fun.
how this rolled, how organically it happened. There was no plan. Part of the book club, we do this book club on Wednesdays, and we're reading your story. And I then asked you if I could send, because we record it, can I send the recording to a client we share? And you said yes. And it rolled from there. I don't even know what happened. It was so organic that this just took place. That's trust to me. That's trusting in this beyond the ego. The ego would have been figuring it out, like I have to do this and I have to do that. And, all I really had to do was remember to hit record.
And you did.
And I did. But yeah, isn't that beautiful? That we can all remind each other from our personal stories. We go through life and we have these stories. That was one of the first things I remember when I first had to. I was like you, Yael. I was shy. I did not want to talk to people. But Sid had us talking in pairs to small groups. I was like, I have nothing to say. He said, just say what you know. Just say what you have seen. That's all. That was back in 1986. So, and it evolves. That's all we can do is just say what we know.
Yeah.
People are having to drop off. It's, a lot of people are here just for their lunch break. So any last things that anybody wants to say? This has just been so lovely. Thank you so much, Yael.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Lori, and everyone who joined.
Just wanted to say thank you. It's been lovely.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for being here.
I'm going to remember to stop the recording.